Morning, everybody.
Morning. So Wednesday the 13th of March. It's a week since we did some filming in Sheerfock, and we've had a busy week, haven't we? So the van has been spot on, thankfully, beyond our expectations really. So we've had no issues at all, and we've driven about 700 miles or so, I think, through Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, and we're now in Turkey. So big relief really 2 days ago when we crossed into Turkey, because that's what we've had in our minds for 6 months, 12 months, you know, this idea that we're going to travel to Turkey and spend 3 months. So we finally managed to get here.
In one piece.
Yeah, in one piece. Yeah, everything's been fine. So, shall I give a quick description, or do you wanna chip in as?
If I think of anything, I'll fill it in.
So we'd picked the van up the day before. We had an early start in Sheerfock Thursday last week. We then decided to buy a vignette, because up until that point we'd been avoiding the motorways and sort of taking the scenic route. It'll make a noise, that.
Alright, don't have to stop it, leave it going. Go on. Alright, carry on.
We'd been avoiding the motorways because we were, in our minds, taking the scenic route, which we thought was a good idea, which it is to a certain degree. You see more, but sometimes you just got to get miles done, and the roads in Hungary before we brought down were pretty bad. Yeah. So we bought the vignette. It wasn't much anyway. I think it was about a tenner, and then we took the highway for about 170 miles up past Budapest, and then right down to the border at a place called Szeged, where we treated ourselves to a night out. That's the place where
it was really nice, that Szeged.
Wanted a meal. So we parked in the town centre, which is again something we don't usually do, but we found a free park for night place, and then we decided that we wanted to. Well, I wanted to have a goulash. We'd been 12 days, something like that, in Hungary, and I'd not had a goulash, which is one of my ambitions to do. So anyway, we went out, had a couple of beers, had a really nice meal, didn't we?
Yeah, it was nice. It was nice in Hungary, wasn't it?
A traditional Hungarian place that you'd found. And then we watched the football in a really nice bar, actually, quite a modern bar built underneath one of the main bridges. So that was a good end to that day, and a big relief. We then moved on. The following day we headed into Romania, which was, Romania, we were zooming through a little bit, found it to be pretty flat. The roads were pretty good. Again, we'd got a vignette, which I think was a £5. So go on.
That was another park for night, wasn't it, we had?
Yeah, Karansabis, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
I suppose the main thing about crossing the border, that was the first hard border that we'd crossed since coming into France. So Hungary into Romania. Romania and Bulgaria are not yet in Schengen. They're moving into a version of Schengen at the end of March, one that will affect the border crossings at airports. Quite how they're going to make it work, I don't know, but at the moment they're not in Schengen anyway, so there's still a hard border, but it was a pretty straightforward crossing. We then ended up looking for a park for night, this place called Karansabis, which in all truth was pretty, we weren't even sure if we were going to stay there. If you remember, we drove into the town, it looked a bit rough. There was stray dogs knocking about, but that's what you get in these countries. And then we ended up turning off to this little car park by a park, which again looked a bit iffy, but
nice in the end.
Well, we've learned to sort of just sit and watch and observe and just see what the comings and goings are, and the kind of people that we're knocking about. And actually there was a sports field nearby. There were people coming and going, lady joggers on their own, dog walkers, so you know, kids knocking about. so you just got the sense that it was actually okay. I mean, all these park ups, we've been the only van in sight, haven't we?
We've been the only English people as well, haven't we?
We've not seen
anybody.
Not seen anybody hardly to speak to
I think
on
we've
the
only
road.
seen about 6 motorhomes all in all, haven't we? Not seen many motorhomes.
Not many motorhomes at all, and certainly in the park ups, we're each time by ourselves, which I suppose 6 months ago we would have been a little bit wary of, but now we're pretty used to it, and we learn to take our own precautions and keep an eye out on the places that we're going to. Anyway, we went for a meal in a little bistro, didn't we?
Yeah.
But that didn't go down too well.
No, it was bloody awful. And the electric went off as well, and it went pitch black.
So why was it awful?
It was just budget, I think. And then I did some reading up after, and there are a lot of budget places in Romania, but you can get decent meals as well. I think sometimes I'm a little bit picky, but well,
you're braver with your choices on the menu than I am. I mean, I had sausages and chips kind of thing with mustard, whereas you chose an option called bacon, which you assumed it was going to be a gammon steak, but it was more like a pork belly type thing, wasn't it? Quite fatty and. But I suppose you've got to try stuff. But you ended up not really eating much that night.
The dog had a good time, didn't you? Full belly last
anyway, I enjoyed it in terms of it's a local place where there were local folk, and just watching people, watch what they're doing, watch what they're drinking, I find that quite interesting. But we moved on. Oh, the morning after we went into town, didn't we? You liked that, didn't you?
Yeah, really nice bakers, and it was a lovely little town, wasn't it? We sat in the square and had our breakfast.
Yeah, so the weather was good. I mean, I think in your descriptions of things that you kind of look through rose-tinted glasses in some respects when you say it's a nice place. Most people in British standards would say it was rough, but we liked what it was, didn't we?
Yeah.
We get it's Romania at the end of the day, which is a different type of place, different type of standards.
I always notice like people are happy. They don't seem to have a lot. Like they're riding around on their little bikes and stuff like that, but they're all smiling. There were nice people there. They seemed, and that's what I pick up, I think. That's just me. So I think when I see things like that, everybody's happy. Yeah. Just watching the world go by, I think that's a nice place.
Yeah. We had no hassle. We went to a nice coffee shop, got a takeaway coffee. We ended up getting some pastries, which were really nice. Sat in the sun, didn't we, in the square, like you said. So yeah, fair enough.
I would definitely go back to Romania when we've got more time. Maybe on the way back.
Yeah, and possibly
do a bit of research.
Possibly on the eastern coast by the water. Anyway, we moved on. Another border, which was can't really remember it, but it was again fairly straightforward. We've not been asked any questions about the dog. They're not even looked in the van on these borders. Just passports and V5 for the vehicle. That was it, and sailed through into Bulgaria. Which I mean, that was another, frankly, without being too unkind to countries, but another step down in terms of economy, and the roads were pretty grim as well. But we
had a meal out there as well, didn't we? And watched the football.
Yeah, that's the one. I'm just thinking about it, that in terms of the crossings, because they've kind of blurred into one a little bit, but this is the crossing where we went past that. Must have been at least a 6-mile queue of lorries. Oh, yeah. So this was an experience and a half. I've never.
You went round a roundabout or the wrong way around. Well, because you had to.
The situation was, it was a single carriageway road, and we'd come a fair way. We travelled another, I think, 200 miles that day, 150 miles anyway. And we had some nice bits. We came along the Danube. I mean, it's not glamorous, but it was nice to have a bit of scenery. We'd come through some over the mountains, hadn't we, to a pass where they were building a motorway and things like that. But we ended up, we came across this. We knew the border was coming up because we tried to stay somewhere else, hadn't we? We tried to stay by the Danube, but when we got there, there was a bunch of stray dogs, which
there were loads of them.
They were all
came running after that van, didn't they, as well?
when we left. Yeah, they're just territorial, so they bark. They're not aggressive, but they can be, I guess, a little bit intimidating. And when you've got your own dog, that's obviously got to be a priority to consider. So we moved on from there. We headed to the border. This is where we ended up, about at least 6 miles from the border, single carriageway. It was the start of the HGV queue. So the HGVs were all stacking up alongside the road, more or less taking up the whole of the carriageway we were on, and then traffic coming the other way intermittently, as obviously they'd got through the border. So it was literally a bit of a chicken run to, I was following a van at one stage, and he was just coming out, getting as far down as he could before having to pull in before cars or lorries were coming the other way. So it was a bit hairy. The roundabout bit was a roundabout before the border, and because all the HGVs were basically taking up the whole road, we ended up not going round the wrong way, but we went round the road slightly the wrong way and then carried on. So that was a bit mad, and we ended up at a place called Montana, which sounds glamorous, but the roads getting there were awful in Bulgaria. And then the town itself looked like something from the Soviet Union, quite industrial. And again, we're looking around thinking, blimey, the Park for Night write-up was all right. It was the one by that big football stadium. But when we got there, the route into the car park, we couldn't get that way for a start, and there was some sort of derelict land next to it, and a pretty busy road alongside, and we're looking at each other thinking, maybe not. But what I did, there was a little park, and I got out, took the dog for a little walk, and again just sussed it out, just had a look at the people, had a look at the car park, which seemed all right, and then figured out how to get into it a different way. So at the end of the day, we parked there, had a nice meal in the van, didn't we? And it was fine. The morning after, I met a woman in the park walking her dog, and it turned out she was an English teacher, got quite a bit of information about the area. So Captain's just chewing his bone, which is making a racket, probably picking up on the mic. So it was Montana. We moved on. This woman told us about Plovdiv, which is a place about another 100 odd miles down the road. So again, a Park for Night park up next to the river, not glamorous, but the town you liked.
Yeah, town was excellent.
So it's quite an old kind of Roman town. There was some amphitheatre ruins. There was quite a lot of life. We've not seen much life for quite a while. So we walked into town, ended up later on having a couple of drinks and a meal, which they've created a... That's just going to make noise. I'm not. Why are you telling me to shut up? Just get it rid of it.
You know what? Listen, you need to start smiling like that all the time with face on.
Because that is going to spoil what we're trying to do.
It doesn't mean anything. Your face is like that all the time anyway. It's like that. Miserable.
What do you want me to do?
Carry on.
Well, you talk.
Crack on, love.
So we had a meal in Plovdiv. What was that like?
It was nice. I enjoyed it. It was called The Trap, where we were.
So it's like an area that they'd converted
really nice.
to. Well, they made all little restaurants and quite a nice little area, really.
There were a lot of people out that night as well. That's most people we've ever seen out. And that was a Sunday night as well. I was surprised. All the shops were still open till late as well. Yeah. So yeah, it was good.
After that, we set off for the big one for us, for Turkey, because we knew again this was going to be a hard border. We weren't 100% sure on the paperwork for the van. Start again. We weren't 100% sure about the paperwork for the dog. We'd read up that you needed to get an animal health certificate as well as the teacher test, but that seemed a bit vague. So anyway, we ended up heading to the border, which was an absolutely massive place. They've spent a load of money on all the infrastructure, but there was hardly anybody there. And in the end, despite the fact that we had a bit of toing and froing, we got through without any major hassle, really. They never asked to see anything other than our passports, the dog passport,
The green card for insurance.
the green card, the V5. So although we had to, there was a bit of messing about, it's a bit disorganised, and we ended up going to this little office and then being told to pull the van into this sort of hangar thing where they were getting other people with vans to empty stuff out and I think putting them through an x-ray. So we were thinking, you know, are we going to have to empty the van out, which would have been a big job. But in the end, this woman, customs officer, just took a bit of a cursory look. I think she had enough because she'd been arguing with another guy
Dear me,
who lost his rag.
Chaos.
So it's a little bit disorganised. I don't think, it seemed to me like they didn't have the staff of the right calibre or whatever. But she was all right. She was nice enough, and had a 2-second look in the back of the van, in the main door of the van, and then we were on our way. We ended up at a place called Idern, just over the border. Free park for night stop again, but this is really us just trucking on, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then we ended up another, I think it was 100 miles yesterday to get to this place, which is now down on the
coast.
Yeah, it's the Aegean Sea. It's a little inlet on the way down to the Dardanelles. We're about 20 minutes north of Gallipoli. So I think all in all, ready for, it might sound daft, we've not worked for 2 or 3 months, but ready for a rest with everything that we've been through.
Yeah, and the money's been puzzling and all, because we've had 4 different currencies in 3 days, haven't we?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So we've got like loads of different currency. We just have to spend it on way back or whatever.
And a lot of places are cash only, obviously.
Yeah.
We've had fun and games with some of the vignettes and stuff like that, which are all different. Online for some countries, you've got to buy this little ticket that's in the windscreen. That thing there is a little sticker on the window for the Turkish vignette. But it's all, it's all good fun. I think I'm, like I said, personally just ready for just to find somewhere in the next couple of days. The weather from the weekend onwards, so we've got 3 days of kind of.
We had hailstorm this morning.
Yeah, it was quite warm the first night in Turkey, sunny. We were chuffed, weren't we? And had all the windows open. And then yesterday, last night, this morning, we've had quite a lot of rain, thunderstorms, hail. But it's now brightening up. You can probably see sunny, getting sunny outside now. So we're going to have a look down at Gallipoli today, and then that looks quite an interesting place. Maybe do some of the historic things, but we'll catch up on that in a few days.
The main thing is the van's superb now, isn't it? It's the best
Yeah.
it's ever been. So I think that must have been a niggly problem that we've had since we've had the van, because you used to get little warning lights and stuff like that, and we'd taken it to garages in the UK and they'd just scratch their heads and stuff like that. But over in Hungary, they were just straight on it, found the problem straight away, and then obviously did the work, and it's a different van now, isn't it?
We're extremely lucky.
Yeah.
Knowing the problematic nature of this gearbox system, but yeah, like you say, it all seems to be sorted. A warning light I've had on and off for a year has not reappeared. So hopefully, we're in a good position, and we can crack on and hopefully enjoy some good weather soon.
Yeah. Okay, speak to you soon.
Bye for now.
Bye.